Well, Primark has said that it will pay compensation and offer emergency food aid to the victims of the factory collapse who worked for its supplier. In a statement, Primark said that we have partnered with a local NGO to address the immediate needs of victims. Primark will also pay compensation to the victims of this disaster who work for its supplier. This will include the provision of long-term aid for children who have lost parents, financial aid for those injured, and payments to the families of the deceased. It also urges other retailers to come forward and offer assistance. Well, let's discuss this further. We're joined by Clare Lissaman, Director at the Ethical Fashion Forum Consultancy. Primark making this statement saying that it will pay compensation to the victims of its supplier. What do you make of what they're doing? Is this an industry first?
I think it's fantastic that Primark have stepped up to the plate and that they've said we recognise that there were people in that building that were making clothes for us and we have a responsibility to them, to their families, to help them now with their very immediate need. What is more interesting for us is to say how can we prevent this kind of tragedy happening. This was an entirely preventable tragedy, and how can we prevent it happening again, and how do Primark and other retailers work to make that happen?
In terms of how they work, it's all, let's face it, about cheap clothes. We want cheap clothes. To make any changes will make Bangladesh more expensive. And is there not a fear, a very real fear, that manufacturers will leave the country?
Bangladesh is a stunningly cheap country to source from at the moment. Its minimum wage is about 4 times less than that of China, which obviously is the world's largest garment exporter. But you can put up wages very easily without it really impacting the end retail price of a garment. It's been estimated that to make all the factories in Dhaka safe would cost an extra 7 pence per garment over the next 5 years. And I think anybody, even the people looking for the most value added garments, people that are looking for great bargains, wouldn't balk at paying 7p to know that something like this wouldn't happen again.
But in terms of, there was a meeting on Monday between manufacturers and the international retailers, and they just desperately want them to stay in Bangladesh. You say that it wouldn't bring up the cost of each garment too much, but overall, the country itself fears that these huge international companies will just simply leave.
I think the industry in Bangladesh grew up massively since 1976, when the first factory was opened in Bangladesh, and as your report said, 80% of its exports now are on garments. So of course they're scared that if people moved away immediately, that would have a massive impact on their foreign income levels, on what they can do as a country, and they're still one of the poorest countries in the world. I think much more interesting is to use this opportunity of the industry in Bangladesh, the suppliers who have responsibility for their own workers, who the suppliers themselves have responsibility for making sure they provide good working conditions, provide safe buildings. This is the chance now for the Western retailers who are committed, they've signed up, they're committed to things like the Ethical Trading Initiative, to say what can we all do together. And we have a call at the moment today from the Ethical Fashion Forum. We're about a collaborative industry, and we think this needs a collaborative approach, and we have a call to action now to say how do we all as an industry work together, suppliers, retailers, designers, consumers, how can we all work together to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again?
Okay, let's hope we will work together. Clare Lissaman from the Ethical Fashion Forum, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.